Would you really have hodled Bitcoin since 2010? Do you really understand what the landscape was like back then? Welcome back. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Well, this tweet actually came out on Friday from Dr. Jeff Ross, and I figured that it'd be good to discuss it in a clip because I think that this is, regardless of all the technical conversations, all the philosophical conversations that we have, this is probably one of the biggest type of bull conversations, right? Macro type of conversations that people have. So let's dive into Dr. Jeff's tweet. So opinion. In general, if you first bought Bitcoin in 2010, 2011, and don't have at least 5,000 Bitcoin in cold storage, you screwed something. Okay, I mean, I can understand his point of view. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I can see where, in hindsight, he would see that. So likewise, 2012, 2013, you should have 1,000 plus. I think he went back and corrected it and said 100 plus. I don't know. But anyways, 2014 to 2017, 10 to 100, 2018 to 21, 1 to 10 plus, and 22 to present day, 0.1 to 1 plus. Most people took profits too soon and thus remain much poorer than they should have been had they simply hodled, traded less, and or more wisely managed, secured their Bitcoin. And yeah, that's exactly here. This is the he meant the type was 2012, 2013 should have been at least 100 to 1,000 plus, not just 1,000 plus. Okay, so I mean, look, if you were somebody who was here at that time in 2010 and you were seeing Bitcoin essentially from its very early beginnings, Dr. Jeff says that you should have at least 5,000 Bitcoin in cold storage. And of course, right, this is what I said before, hindsight is 2020. We know what we know now about Bitcoin. The attention today is what we understand about Bitcoin. So we're gonna go get some different opinions here, and and then provide our own little summary on this. Here's a response from CryptoCloak's friend to the show. Honestly, this type of tweet is just plain stupid. Telling people what they should have had by X time is just pulling numbers from their ass. Everyone's situation and life is different. Indeed, that is truth. And truth is never convenient, right? Like, people want blanket statements. People want blanket answers. They want stories that they can buy into and feel good about, right? Like, indecision or unknowns, it's not a comfortable story. That doesn't make a person feel warm and fuzzy. Anyways, what people should be preaching is stack the best you could at the time you got in. So yeah, I think that CryptoCloak's take is, I think it's a balanced take, right? Like, it's essentially there's this kind of weird, this type of weird thing that happens, where essentially because hindsight is 2020, a person should feel somehow shamed for not seeing perfectly back when it was actually happening. So it's kind of interesting how our brain, but keep in mind, right? Like, our brains gravitate much more not towards success situations, but to failure situations. And the reason is because it's a survival mechanism, right? You remember those situations where you failed much more than the situations where you succeeded, because the brain is trying to keep you to survive. And in order for you to survive, you need to remember how those situations that went against your best bet of survival, right? Like, those situations need to be remembered, because you need to keep those fresh in your head to stay away from them. Anyways, I think that this is a great take from fellow Bitcoiner Mandrick. Here we go. Stop fantasizing about it. You would have not hodled in 2011. And I got to be honest with you, I don't disagree with Mandrick. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that'll be like, no, I would have hodled. You don't know who you were back then. You don't even know what you were thinking back then. And if you really are honest with yourself, you'll most likely realize that you wouldn't have hodled. I mean, I can tell you, when I first got introduced to Bitcoin, it took me well over a year before I even started to be able to think about how it was and could be a store of value, or even care about the censorship resistance or any of these other qualities. For me, it was just magic internet money that I can use, and this is it's a great medium of exchange here on the internet. Just didn't click, Anyways, so he's retweeting his tweet. Let's see what he had to say. So here we go. This tweet is hilarious. Some people in the early days had money and dumped a lot into Bitcoin, but most of us were poor as fuck. I was an ideological retard selling baklava and cleaning toilets for Bitcoin instead of getting a real job. You think I had $25,000 to invest in Bitcoin? Here's the reality. I have less Bitcoin today than I did years back, and I have no regrets. That's not a cope, it's the truth. Maybe this is an unpopular take, but the last thing I care about doing is focusing my energy on acquiring more wealth once I can take care of myself and my family. I'd rather use that time for something better. I'm still an ideological retard at heart, no matter what the price does. This part of it here, I think, is extremely important. So here, let's. This is a continuation of the previous message from Andrick. So also, you guys act like we had the Bitcoin fucking standard and 500 different podcasts to listen to. No, we didn't. We had nothing. And he had even less than I did because I came like 4 years after he did. Anyways, all we had was sci-fi novels, Bitcoin talk forums, Free Talk Live, and a bunch of fucking autists in New Hampshire that were using brass Chuck E. Cheese tokens made by some guy named Mike Caldwell, sent to us by some other guy named Roger Ver. It took me like a year to understand that Bitcoin couldn't be hacked or that coins couldn't be duped. Hell, I barely understood the halving by the time the first one happened in 2012. On top of all that, we were using stupid shit like Mt. Gox and BTCE because we didn't understand every fucking aspect of a really complicated fucking thing. And the people who did understand self-custody forgot their complicated wallet.dat passwords or threw their fucking hard drives away. The fact that any of us even have any money today is a miracle. I think it's very, very important. As much as, you know, people tongue in cheek, you know, kind of make fun of Mandrick's takes sometimes. Look, he's in this. He is conveying something that a lot of people will not admit. And to his point about the content, okay? So when I first came to this space, most people were speaking a language I didn't even understand. And I'm technical, you know, like my background is in network administration. And all of a sudden I'm coming over here and I'm hearing like low time preference and, you know, like I'm hearing people use, you know, like the Overton window and all of these things that, like, to be perfectly honest, most people are not saying in their everyday conversations, okay? But in Bitcoin, this language is normal. So again, when I got to Bitcoin, it was already like late 2015, 2016. And there was Tales from the Crypt, right? There was What Bitcoin Did. There was Bottom Shelf Bitcoin, okay, which absolutely, I think, to me anyways, that was actually one of my favorite podcasts. And there was Ansel Lindner. Like, to me, like those were the people that there were. I know there's a whole bunch of other podcasters, but these are the people who that I paid attention to and that I was interested in their messaging. But for the most part, we had almost no resources. And it's not easy always to build up conviction when you don't have all of these people with their polished talking points. And we kind of take that for granted today. Back then, when you'd see these speakers come out and they would explain Bitcoin in a new and novel way that you had never heard before, it was like another step, right? It's another step up the ladder where it's like, hey, wait a second. I wasn't thinking of Bitcoin like this. Now this person has introduced this idea that I've never really thought about, and now I can think about this idea a lot more, and hey, this makes a lot more sense. Anyways, so look, the whole point of it is this, okay? It's very easy to beat yourself up and give yourself a hard time and say, oh, why wasn't I here? It's very easy to create detrimental messaging that tells you that, hey, you should have this and that. Let me tell you something. Shoulds are not going to help you. They are not going to help you emotionally. They are not going to help you psychologically. And they're not going to help you in your everyday life. Constantly creating a negative voice in the back of your head, telling you all the things you should have done. That's a recipe for failure. It is a total recipe for failure. To Mandrick's point, I'd have a lot more Bitcoin. 100%. I can think of countless people that would have had more Bitcoin. But there is something to be said. And in no way is this messaging telling you should sell your Bitcoin and live a better life. No, everybody should do whatever. No, fuck the shoulds. Everybody can do whatever it is that they are compelled to do. Okay? Nobody here knows how to live a better life for you than you. You know how to live your own life. And I know it sounds very difficult, but yeah, nobody knows how to live your life better than you, because the reality is every single person that you learned how to live your life from learned how to live their life from somebody else. Okay? That's how traditions work. It's you get to a certain point where you don't even know why you're doing something. You're just doing it because that's what everybody before you did. So, yeah, there's a lot of people running on autopilot. So it's good to learn about yourself. It's good to learn who you are, okay? And make sure that you have your own goals and your own idea of success. Don't just take somebody else's blanket statements and pat them on your life and decide, there it is, that's my thing. You're most likely going to set yourself up for some serious disappointment, okay? So it's good to stack, right? Once you understand Bitcoin, and if you think that this is something that's important to you, then hey, stack what you can comfortably. Don't leave yourself in a situation where you are going to get wrecked, okay? It's important to be able, you know what, like Vikingo always says, right? Fellow Bitcoiners, stay solvent. Like that's, you know, as much as fellow Bitcoiners make fun of that tongue in cheek, you know, but he's not wrong, right? He's not wrong, because if you're not solvent, you are going to be forced into selling your Bitcoin at a less desirable time, and that will most likely end up in regret, okay? Because you will have had to trade your Bitcoin for crappy fiat to pay stupid bills. And that sucks. Again, right? To each their own. Know yourself. It's just good to think of both sides of the coin. There is no cut and dry answer. I am not going to give you some feel-good statement that you could just fucking pepper over everything with and be like, yeah, there you go. No, okay? The truth is, the truth is gray. The truth is complicated. The truth is not just, you know, these polar opposites where you can just feel good in these warm and fuzzy statements. It's not like that, okay? Humans are complex and the truth is complex. Anyways, guys, that does it for today. I'm going to catch you all tomorrow.